Hi, everyone. Let's chat for a minute about getting feedback on your parenting style from family members at the holidays. Not that we don't need feedback on our parenting style at times, and certainly should welcome that because we're not perfect. Maybe we need to get some tough love sometimes with how we're doing things. But during the holidays is probably not the time for distant relatives to interject their parenting thoughts and styles on you. But they are not doing it probably to be mean and to upset you and to ruin your holiday. What they're trying to do is to be helpful, but it's really difficult when people do that because obviously you're living it every day. You have doctors and probably therapists and people that you're working with that are helping you raise your children, and their input is not necessarily something that you want to hear when you're trying to like carve a turkey. So I remember getting feedback about my daughter in particular. Now my daughter Megan is now an adult, but she has Down syndrome. And so there was always something that somebody would say around her having Down syndrome where they were trying to help or tell me that I'm maybe coddling her too much or whatever their opinion was in any given year. So I would hear things like, for example, a 504 is better than an IEP. You should really just put Megan on a 504. And if you know anything about special education plans and the difference between a 504 versus an IEP, you would know that that is a really bad idea to put a child with Down syndrome on a 504 and not an IEP. But am I going to go through the pros and cons of each at Thanksgiving while we're carving the turkey? No. So I'm just going to say, oh, thanks for that. I'll look into it. And I smile and I nod. All right. So something like that's pretty benign. And then there are other things that are a little bit more harmful. Like the one time we had a family member who didn't really respect the fact that my daughter was really afraid of pets and felt that I was coddling too much by not having pets and having pets around her. So it was really that I was causing this problem. And what she really needed was exposure to pets. So we're just going to have pets just be out during the holidays. So what that meant for my daughter was she would literally sit on the couch with her feet up, looking around the ground for pets that could have jumped up on her or scared her or surprised her. So she was pretty much on high alert the entire day, looking for these pets that could have come out of any dark corner of the house at any time, and tried to enjoy her time with family under that circumstance. That night, when I brought her home and put her in bed to go to sleep and I gave her a hug, the hug was on the stiffest body you can imagine. She was so like just wrought with fear from being in that environment the whole day. And honestly, I didn't know it was quite that bad while she was in it, or I would have left a whole lot sooner, to be honest. But that night I realized, oh my gosh, this poor little girl was so scared all day that she's still like just tense as tense can be. And it took a lot to kind of calm her down, back rubs, just explaining to her that it wasn't anyone being mean. It was people who were trying to help you adjust to being around pets, even though it didn't really work for you and it had made you feel this way. That was their intention, just so they didn't feel badly or feel like they didn't like the relative and all of that. So those things are harder, especially if it's coming from, we think, a good place, yet it's, can be detrimental to your kid. Or even just, elderly people who'll be like, oh, that kid's so wild. They're all over the place. Why don't they discipline them? Right. And you see like this undiagnosed ADHD relative running around. I'm sitting there going, well, that's probably some ADHD going on there that they haven't figured out yet. And trying to get the relative to say, everyone's got their own parenting style. We don't know the whole story. You don't know what's going on. So probably we should keep those thoughts to ourselves. But when the thoughts aren't kept to themselves and they are expressed out loud, you got to remember this is just going to be a short little period of time we just got to live through. You got to survive it the best you can and try to preserve relationships so you don't cause big fights in the family, because it's definitely not worth it for that. And then you don't have to see them for a long time. And you can explain to your kids that it just comes from a good place, but that, sometimes it's misguided and people just don't understand what they don't understand, and you just move on. So I hope this was helpful. I hope you have a really wonderful Thanksgiving. And if you do get any feedback, just kind of grin and bear it and try to get through it and just move on to the next holiday and hope it gets better then.